This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Just when we thought this was getting boring, they do something. The Browns have made a trade for Pro Bowl edge rusher Zadarius Smith. You know him. He used to play for the Ravens, and then he was on the Patriots for a couple of years. I believe he was even on Green Bay, and he just did a year with the Minnesota Vikings. A very good edge rusher. We knew they were making a move for a vet because as much as I like Ogunbonia, Okonkwo, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name, and I'm 100% sure I did. We knew that they needed another, stout edge rusher to really complete that rotation there. And boy, did they get one. All right, so let's look at the trade. Let's start here from the beginning of Ian Rappaport's tweets. So basically, they traded for Zadarius Smith. Smith was previously set to get be under contract for another year, so 2 years. Now he's under contract for just 1 year. They turned his 2-year deal into a 1-year deal. The Browns did at trading for him, and now he's under cap for $11.75 million, fully guaranteed. That probably means that cap number is going to be ridiculously low this year since they're paying it all in guarantees. Zadarius had 10 sacks last season. He will become a Cleveland Brown. And if we're wondering about compensation, our friend of the show, Cameron Justice, has the compensation out. She says the Browns are going to receive Zadarius Smith, a 2025 6th and 7th round pick for in exchange for a 2024 5th round pick and a 2025 5th round pick. So 2 5th round picks, but you get a 6th and a 7th in 2025 for whatever that's worth. For Zadarius Smith, who is a former Pro Bowler. Now, some of y'all who might not be familiar with Zadarius Smith's work, you look at him, he's 30 years old, 6'4", 272. He was the dude who played opposite of Bud Dupree at Kentucky, ended up having a much better career than Bud Dupree. Last year, he had 3 forced fumbles, 29 stops, 10 sacks, 53 hurries, and 78 total pressures, which is great. If we compare that to Jadeveon Clowney, I don't think Clowney was even close to those numbers last year. So this would be even an upgrade to Jadeveon. And this is one of those things that I was worried about, right? Because as much as we were willing to move on from Jadeveon Clowney for the obvious reasons that the Browns wanted to move on from Jadeveon Clowney, you still had to replace that production that he gave you. And you look here, he's better in every way. 3 sacks Jadeveon had last year to Zadarius's 10. The pressures, I think Zadarius had 70 something. He's only had 29 hurries, much more stops in less games, I believe, than Jadeveon. So not only did you get a legitimate edge, you got an upgrade. Now, is he going to be enough to save the whole defense? No, but you put him in conjunction with Myles Garrett, with Dalvin Tomlinson, and all the other pieces that you added over this year, and all of a sudden you're looking at a defense that looks pretty good. Here's what, again, I have to say this routinely. Whenever we have things that we complain about for this team in the offseason, those needs get taken care of by Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry does a tremendous job with trade. He does a tremendous job with bringing in players. He does a tremendous job, I think, in the draft. If you look at what the picks he had, right? He's had 1 first-round pick. Well, 2 first-round picks, 1 top 10 pick, his entire stay in Cleveland. That's the least out of any GM here, and he's probably hit on more players than all the other GMs combined. It's an extraordinary get. It's an extraordinary get. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect they get Zadarius Smith, but let's keep looking into Zadarius Smith as a player. His Pro Football Focus grades aren't going to be the greatest in the world, but his production has been pretty good here. You look at his production in Baltimore, 10 sacks in 2018, 16 with Green Bay in 2019, 13 in Green Bay in 2020, missed the year in Green Bay in 2021, came back in Minnesota. So he never did play for the Patriots. I don't know why I thought he paid for the Patriots, but 10 sacks in 2022. A very productive player his entire career once he's gotten the snaps. The pressure numbers have always been impressive from him. And again, now you're putting him opposite of Myles Garrett, where in Minnesota, he was pretty much the main pass rusher, or at least the main pass rusher right there in that moment. Green Bay was a similar situation for it. And in Baltimore, it was a similar situation for him. He's now in a situation where he's going to have help on the other side. You have Myles Garrett, and not only do you have Myles Garrett, and this is where the most important thing is, you have a defensive coordinator who emphasizes the position. And this is why I said, and I think I was on Cleveland.com show when I said this, because they asked me a question about, hey, what's more important, bringing in the players or bringing in the coaches when it comes to fixing the defense? And I can see how somebody can look at it in that binary way and get lost in that. But what I felt like was being lost in that question was the coaches bring the blueprint for the players in the positions that they're going to emphasize. If you don't have the right coach for the right group of players, you're not going to be successful, right? What we found with the Browns roster last year is that, hey, look, you could flip it and say that we're deeper at DB, and we can make that argument. But you know where there's no argument? Who's the best player on this defense? It's Myles Garrett, right? And for years, we've taken for granted the idea that Myles Garrett is the best player on this team, and we've really given him no help, and we just let him hold down the entire half of the defense, and then we focus on the back end. But this is the first time that you have somebody who says, hey, I'm about getting this pressure with the defensive line. We'll figure out the back end however we figure that out. I'm going to get some talented corners. Oh, we already got talented corners to handle that. But now we're going to focus on the defensive line. You make a move for Zadarius Smith because you have a coordinator who feels like he knows what to do with the Zadarius Smith. Now, Zadarius Smith, I believe he played in the 3-4 in both Green Bay and Baltimore. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like it was a 3-4 in Minnesota, so this would be a little bit of an adjustment, but not that much, because playing the edge in a wide 9 is similar to playing edge at 3-4, because you're going to be set out wide. You're going to be playing in between the tackle and the tight end, sometimes outside the tight end. So that really, your alignment doesn't change, and it's not that big of an adjustment, right? Like, every defense asks his defensive linemen to go back into coverage now. It didn't used to be the case in some of the older 3-4, 4-3 conversations that we used to have. But the adjustment's just not that big because everybody runs multiple now. But you have another edge rusher here. Now I feel great about the room. Because before, when you were just giving me Myles Garrett and, hey, let's take a chance on Ogunbowale Okonkwo, I was like, okay. We're relying a lot on Myles Garrett, but okay. I don't know what we're going to do behind him, but okay. Maybe Isaiah McGuire fits into that conversation. Maybe Isaiah Thomas fits into that conversation. I don't know. I don't feel Alex Wright, maybe he fits in that. I don't know. I don't feel great about it. But now, just the addition of one body changes your entire perspective of that room, because now you're like, okay, Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith. I feel great about that. If we're going to rotate in some guys, hey, Ogunbowale Okonkwo, feel great about him as a rotational guy. If we're going to bring in somebody else to get some snaps, hey, Alex Wright or Isaiah McGuire or Isaiah Thomas, whichever young guy wins that battle, you could be the fourth guy. Guy comes in and gives Myles a blow every once in a while. Hey, that's cool with me. Feel great about that rotation. All of a sudden, it's going to be a tough cut at that rotation. Somebody's going to get cut, and it's going to be tough. This also signals to me that Alex Wright probably moving inside, right? I think Alex Wright moving inside, right? I think the ideal is McGuire's going to be that fourth guy if he can take it there. If not, Isaiah Thomas will be the fourth guy day one, and they'll just have him, Isaiah McGuire. I know it's confusing with both guys being named Isaiah, but they'll have Isaiah McGuire inactive but not dressed during the portions of the seasons that he's not ready for. But I think the hope is to have Isaiah McGuire there at 4, to probably have Ogbonia in there, and he could play that Tack McKinley role where he's the third man up on the rotation, but he's going to be used a lot more than your usual third man up. You'll probably keep Isaiah Thomas on the roster, so you'll probably keep 5 edge rushers. Obviously Myles Garrett, obviously Zadarius Smith. They're going to hold it down in the base fronts, and that's your edge rusher rotation, and you feel good about that. Now we move into 3 tech, and you have, Siaki Ika. Maybe he does something, maybe he doesn't. I'm not a fan of that pick, but hey, you picked him in the 3rd round, he might produce. Then you also have Alex Wright, who I like a lot if you move him inside. Then you have Perrion Winfrey. There's still something that you can get out of him. Maybe you can squeeze something out of Jordan Elliott, and you have Dalvin Tomlinson. Now all of a sudden you got a decent rotation on the interior. And now you have a defense that's added another name and another reason why this team should not make excuses. Now, Zadarius Smith doesn't make you a top 5 defense because you were horrible last year. And I'm not going to call this defense top anything until I see it, because they were trash last year. But they look good on paper right now, right? And that's all we can hope for right now before the season starts is, hey, look a lot better on paper, look like you covered your holes, and this team, quiet is kept. They're the best kept secret in the NFL because they've really attacked their weaknesses on the defensive side of the ball. We've not even talked about Juan Thornhill that much, but it's a huge addition. This is a guy who started on the Super Bowl team, played a tremendous role for them in both the times that they got to the Super Bowls when he was healthy. So he is a good player. You added him in this team. You're bringing in guys like Dalvin Tomlinson. You're bringing in guys like Zadarius Smith. You're really making a run at it. Hopefully, they're able to get maintain one of their premium picks and get a long-term solution to put next to Myles, somebody they draft in the 2nd round that pans out, so you don't have to keep doing these 1-year deals. In Zadarius Smith, this is very much a 1-year deal for him. But he's a very, very good player. He's a good defender, solid run defender. You get everything that you get out of Clowney, plus you get the sack production with him. He's a guy who's produced with sacks. And outside of that 2021 year, he's a guy who's been able to stay on the football field, most importantly. You don't have to worry about this dude coming to work, right? Or coming to work with an attitude. So you get a complete upgrade from Jadeveon Clowney. Like Zadarius Smith's, like his mid-end or his mid-level that I would expect out of him to low-end would be what Jadeveon gave you 2 years ago that we were excited about. I mean, his high-end, he's had a ton of sacks, 13, 16 sacks before in his career. It wouldn't be ridiculous to think that he can get close to that number, especially when he's in a situation where they have some 3-tech help there with DT. They have some help. Obviously, he has the most help there with Myles Garrett, especially since Myles Garrett has had, 2 years of plus 16 sack seasons. So every team is going to be rotating and shifting and trying to get away from Myles as much as possible. There's going to be a ton of opportunity for Zadarius Smith to eat in this defense. This is a great fit. This is a good trade. I don't mind the compensation on it. I didn't expect that this would be where they would go. I thought they would be in the Justin Houston market or the Unique Ngakoue market, but this is much better. This is much better. They get an upgrade from Jadeveon Clowney, and they already have Ogbonia. This is a good trade for the Cleveland Browns. I'm excited to see what this looks like on the field. I almost didn't think it was real when I saw it. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think of this trade? What do you think of bringing in Zadarius Smith? Do you think this will be a big difference in this team, or you think this is going to be a big nothing burger come fall? Let me know in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. And I'm going to go to bed. Hopefully AB don't trade for nobody while I try to upload this video.